Good morning, my loves. Happy Saturday. It's Saturday WooWoo from the woods. It's a perfect morning for it. It's nice and cool at the moment, but I shouldn't think it's going to stay that way for longer because we're having lots of beautiful sunny weather in England. And I know, having spoken to friends located in different parts of Europe, that it's also been very toasty over there as well. The energy has changed. I've noticed that there has been a distinctive shift since the solstice, and I know that we are currently in a retrograde, Mercury retrograde, which, to be absolutely honest with you, I haven't taken a huge amount of notice of. I've been saying over the last probably 6 months or so that I feel that I need to be far more captain of my ship. And a retrograde is going to do what a retrograde is going to do, but I'm not necessarily going to be hyper fixated on that particular on what the retrograde is doing, or even kind of allowing permission for it to affect my life. I am going to continue to do what I do and be very focused and as diligent as I possibly can be about the effects of the energies around me and how much permission I give them to interfere with my world, so to speak. And there's a couple of things that I want to talk about this morning because they've landed upon my radar, and generally speaking, there's always a lot of things occurring in the spiritual world. We're not bored anymore, are we? Let's put it that way. It's not like, oh, I'm on the spiritual pathway. This is boring. I don't have an awful lot to do. We are kept endlessly entertained. We're put to work. We're constantly dealing with processes. There is a planet literally racing through the ascension process around us. I don't think any of us can claim to be bored. We might be a little bit bored with the opposition or some of the circumstances that repeat and show up in our lives, but generally speaking, it is an interesting time to be on Earth. And so over the years, things have kind of landed in my peripheral vision, directly in front of my nose or in my inbox, and they've either drawn my energy because I feel that they are appropriate for my pathway, or they haven't. And one of the things that has come up recently, and I think it speaks to us on a greater level, is the issue of that hadron collider thingy that they've got in Switzerland called CERN. Now, I've yet to kind of analyse, what it is fully that thing does. But I can only assume that it was created in order to alter timelines, alter dimensional space, just generally, put a spanner in the works of whatever we're trying to do. There are people that on this world that have been trying to play God since the fall of Atlantis. Or actually probably people that existed during the Atlantean times that thought they were God. And then they continue to do so, but obviously with a lot more freedom and a lot more secrecy since the fall. So this group of souls, these God players, they are very set against this planet and all of us achieving the ascension process, because ultimately it means that they no longer have power, dominion and resources available to them on the way that they did previously, and that obviously makes them very sad. Oh dear. And so they've been planning, plotting and scheming and doing whatever else they can do for thousands and thousands of years to make sure, or try and make sure, that we do not achieve our goal. And it kind of almost speaks, you know, you got to hand it to them. They've been they are very clever people, and they're also spiritually orientated. You're probably even listening to this video going, what's he talking about now, sort of thing. But you know, maybe I'm on their radar, maybe I'm not. Don't really care, to be honest. What we're going to do, what we're going to do anyway. But so they're very clever, they're very spiritually knowledgeable, they're very well backed financially, and they've had thousands and thousands and thousands of years to implement these schemes, these practices, put all of these kind of things in place to ensure that we do not step through the gateway on the right timeline. So, having tuned into the energy of CERN, I've come to the conclusion that it was built specifically to create a vibration, a set of fields, circumstances, basically build alternative timelines that create a frequency and a vibration in which we cannot ascend, or cannot ascend so easily. And there's been all sorts of stories about, you know, memories changing, time speeding up, and it was officially switched off on the 29th of June. I've had multiple messages and emails asking me about this, which is why I'm talking about it. Because although I've been aware of its presence over the years, it's never really concerned me. I've not woken up in the morning and go, oh my God, I've got to do something about CERN today, or what's CERN doing? You know, it's well, they've amped up the colliding of the hadrons. You know, how's this going to affect our ascension process? So I tuned into it. Apparently, it's been switched off for 4 years. 4 years. You know, when we say the word "4," the two words 4 years, it sounds like a long time, doesn't it? But if we think about how quickly time's been moving and how swiftly we can cover that ground, it's not actually really that far away in the future. So it gets switched back on in 2030, and that's 2 years away from the final, you know, the final destination of moving into the golden era. We are well ahead of schedule on the Ascension pathway. We're kind of approaching the point where we are going to be reaching a maximum density, and or a maximum lightness. Oh, here comes my pheasant. And I asked my angel very specifically about CERN. I was like, does this concern me? So you see what I did there? And she said, no, absolutely not. You are not in that frequency range where you need to be worried about the effects of CERN. You are on a frequency bandwidth of joy, love, wisdom, happiness, and you are not vibrating at that frequency. And I suddenly thought, okay, that makes sense. That makes it simple. So look at it logically. Look at. I always like to break things down, especially when they seem dramatic, when they are maybe presenting us with an obstacle, when we are given information which can be triggering to our fields. We become riled up, we become frightened, we become concerned for our survival. You know, what are they doing now, and all the rest of it. Your energy sets the outcome of your future. Okay, it's kind of it's going back to energy 101 here, and every thought you make, every decision that you agree to, every contract that you allow to pass into your fields, that you okay or you reject, this is all energy. It's all an energy exchange. So a vast and extremely complicated billion pound, dollar, euro, whatever it is, structure like CERN, a hadron collider. You know, I'm not a physicist. I don't really know what that is. I just know that it opens portals and effectively has been created to mimic the God particle. You cannot create that artificially. Okay, you can open doorways artificially. You can affect timelines. You can affect bandwidths of energy artificially. But the way our structure works is that an item or a machine, whatever it is, that was built in 3D with third dimensional intentions can only affect that bandwidth of energy. It cannot go up, might be able to go down, but it cannot affect anything that is above its frequency range. It can only go sideways, or it can only work in the field around it. So therefore, the higher you are vibrating, the less likely this is to have any effect on you whatsoever. We are in charge of our timeline. Okay, we are in charge of our outcome. We are in charge of the destiny and the target, the focal point of our particular journey. Whenever we give something around us permission to intervene, to block our progress, to scupper whatever we're doing, that is upon agreement. We have allowed that into our fields. This is absolutely the bottom line of the way that everything works. So this vast, incredible, expensive, complicated billion-euro machine that has been, tearing holes in the space-time continuum, opening portals and doorways, affecting the time stream, it's doing that on a 3D level. Okay, we are elevating our vibration to a point of consciousness where we are heart-centered, where we are unified with the heart, not the ego. That means we've moved into divine will, God's will. I was speaking about this in my last video. And the secret to our success in the coming years is going to be our alignment to the will of God, to the will of Source. I know a lot of people don't like the word God, but I'm deliberately using it more recently because I think it's, we can cast aside the kind of the religious wounding that many of us have, because it's something that we've been clearing recently. There's been a huge clearings, huge karmic shadow work that's needed to be done. Many of us have lived lives in the last 10,000 years or so where we carry wounding from the religions that we're associated with, or ultimately persecuted us in whatever form and whatever country on this planet that we existed in. But we can leave that behind now. We're stepping out of it. We are masters of our own destiny. So when, again, you may or may not be presented with information such as this, this vast machine that has had billions of pounds of money poured into it, that's doing this and doing that and is starting again in 4 years, that information and the effects that it has had are only for those that are vibrating on that frequency bandwidth. Yes, it can have an effect on us because it affects the world around us to a degree. It affects the way that people act, the way they think, the way they are responding to their environment. But again, that's part of our process that we are being trained to work through. Your frequency, your smile, something as simple as the way that you carry yourself when you go about your daily business. The most important thing for each and every one of us at the moment is to carry ourselves in the highest light possible. And as Archangel Michael said at the beginning of the year, really start working on what it is that we are agreeing to, because we are now expected to take responsibility for our own process. The time of kind of calling in everybody to save our backsides because we're feeling a little bit under the weather, or we're having a difficult time, or we're being tested regularly, which is certainly not uncommon in the light field, we are now taking responsibility for that. If we have something that is affecting us, if it's bogging us down, then it's our duty as aspiring masters, aspirants as we were known in Atlantean times, to be completely and fully sovereign about our daily business, about what we agree to, what we are allowing our most precious spiritual currency to be engaged with, what we're spending it on. And so we're going to, I feel that this is really going to be coming up for us over the next 6 months or so. We're now in the second half of the year. And this is when I said that I could feel the energy change. I've walked into my woods this morning. I've still been looking for that branch, on the last little video that I recorded outside on Tuesday, and I just finished speaking and there's this enormous crack right behind me. I still cannot find the branch that broke, but it was quite significant, unless it was just some random clap of thunder that happened. I will find it eventually, but it's kind of buried deep in the undergrowth and I'm not really in the mood to fight brambles at the moment. So all of this energy gearing up for the second half of this year, it's about taking responsibility for our light and how we carry ourselves. Yes, there's going to be retrograde. Yes, there's going to be full moons, and there's undoubtedly going to be squawking, kind of shrieking opposition from the matrix about what we are achieving. But we are well past that point now where we need to be concerned about things thwarting our pathway. It's another thing that's come onto my radar, which has actually interested me, is information about something called the grand solar flash. And I think I might have spoken about this the other day. In fact, no, I spoke about it in WAGs. The grand solar flash, not solar flash. The grand solar flash is it's almost like an event of maximum energy build up, where we reach a critical mass of light workery on this planet, and the wave of energy, or the wave of uplifted consciousness that occurs when that happens, is all encompassing. And the beautiful story goes that in that magical moment that all darkness is wiped from the face of the earth. I've come to really be a little bit picky about what I allow into my fields. This isn't an ascension process that we're undergoing where we get saved and rescued. This is down to us, basically. That's the crux of the test, the fact that we are down here and we're doing this for ourselves, like masters. Okay, it's not suddenly going to be handed over to a fleet of Ashtar's ships. He's there, and so are many, many other teams of light, and they're all, every single one of them, like seriously rooting for us. But our job is to achieve this through the presence of our mighty I Am here on this planet. And we are more than capable of doing that on our own volition. So this critical mass that we reach, we are close. Okay, we are getting very close to it. I've been looking at the ballot. If you go back over a year in my videos, I was looking at the balance point, the golden ratio, the 50-50, being half awakened, half still asleep on this planet, right back in January 2025. And we're well past that now. We're 63-64%, maybe even a little bit higher after the solstice. I don't quite know what the critical mass point is. I should think it's probably around 75%. And tuning into it, that feels big. When we get there, it's going to be massive. But I don't think we're going to be treated to this sweep up process of everything dark disappearing from the planet. Our agreement upon our incarnation here is to experience polarity, rise above it, remember who we are, and form heart-centered societies all around the world, which is in adherence to the Atlantean Ascension gold print. So that is what we're going to do, regardless of what is being built, what's activated, what's not activated, what's generally placed in our direction. So that is my take on it. And I think also we're going to see an increased amount of visible distortion in the political world. You know, we're being asked to align ourselves with the organic. Okay, so an organic. I'm in an organic environment here. I'm surrounded by trees. Got my beautiful dragon crystal with me, which I'm activating this morning. Yes, I'm talking to you on my phone, which is inorganic, and it has AI capacities on it, which I don't use because I don't particularly feel drawn to it in any way, shape or form. And I'll be uploading it to social media, YouTube, Instagram and Facebook. So we do have that in our balance, but we are being pulled increasingly to the organic world, and that organic world is beginning to call more and more powerfully, whereas the inorganic is beginning to look increasingly less appealing by the day. We're all feeling that. We're all being, it's the amount of people that I've spoken to recently that have started a garden this year. We need to remember how to look after ourselves, don't we? We do. We've had it bred out of us in 2 generations to grow our own food, to come together when we need to. It's the humanity is what is returning. Real life, boots on the ground, real human people communicating with one another, acts of kindness, acts of that are based in good. And we are returning to this. This is what we are doing. This is what the absolute core of this process is all about, is living together in peace, unity, harmony and love. And we're getting very close to the point where we are going to be taking the decisions that completely formulate our future. And it looks beautiful. Love you all very much, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.